The governor, it's one of the gubernatorial.
No, I know,
And Michael Linton
Everybody.
from Brooklyn. Hayda's from Queens, Michael Linton is from Brooklyn, who is with Snap, used to be with Sony. And so those are the four newest members.
So they said that Kevin Law was recommended by the Westchester County Executive, and that.
Kevin Law was by the Suffolk
Oh, I'm sorry,
County.
Suffolk County Executive,
like,
sorry,
what?
thank you, and
Rhonda by the Westchester County
Rhonda by the
Executive.
Westchester,
Right.
so we're following up.
and the other two
The other two are
were
gubernatorial.
just straight gubernatorial.
Yes.
But they're all, have to
They're
be-
all appointed, everybody is appointed by the
Everybody,
governor.
you get, in this process, well, in our process, you get stopped cold if you haven't gotten the thumbs up from the governor's office to proceed
Yeah.
with
yeah,
even
yeah.
the paperwork.
But that's,
You don't
And
get
Sarah
the paperwork.
Feinberg's the governor's appointee, right?
Yes.
Yes.
She replaced Scott Raffel.
Yes.
you replaced her?
Scott Rackler.
So Philly,
And David Mack replaced John Malloy, I guess? Yeah, John Malloy, yeah.
Philly board up as well.
No, there's still a Rockland County vacancy. And of course, the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council vacancy.
And who replaced Mordler?
Merdler was replaced by,
It's like Jewish geography. By
Brian Lewis?
no, that might have been Lynn.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Michael Linton did replace Chuck. Chuck was from Bronx, Linton's from Brooklyn, but, still both gubernatorial appointees. Yeah, it's a different place now. We will see what happens.
The chairmanships of the.
Yeah, oh yes. Interestingly, all of the new people are immediately chairs of committees. Ain't that something?
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And sitting at the head of the table, I might add. Brand new. You used to be seated via seniority. but
Which, do you know which committee, who is heading which? Can you
Yes,
tell
we
us?
do. Yes, we do. Kevin Law is the head of Bridges and Tunnels.
Isn't he Suffolk? Isn't he
He's
Long Island
Suffolk, yeah.
Railroad though?
He's also that, yeah.
Okay, Long Island Railroad, but also Susan Metzger kept the Metro
Yeah,
North.
yeah,
And they're
it's a
combining
joint.
the two.
They're likely to combine Metro North and Long Island Railroad into one committee. They're also looking at changing the committee times, possibly, believe it
The
or not.
rest you named now for,
Sarah Feinberg's head of transit.
Transit.
Yes.
and
And finance remains the same. CPOC is the chairman. Safety is the chairman. Let's see.
It's Sarah and.
Finance is Schwartz, still Larry Schwartz. But Michael Linton is, maybe Michael Linton is Bridges and Tunnels.
I think he's.
That's what it is. He's Bridges and Tunnels. Kevin Law is the commuter rail. That's what it is.
could you send us out a list of
Yeah,
of the,
sure
of
we
the
can.
the new people
Absolutely.
and what the committees that
Absolutely.
that everybody's chair.
Well, they haven't, that hasn't been like publicly announced, just at the meetings,
No,
it's
just-
been de facto.
Okay, then I will ask if you don't want to send us, if you could just send me for my information, I'd appreciate it. I mean, I think if
We'll
you
send it
know
to
it,
everyone.
if you know it, we know it. If you don't want us to publicize it, that's fine, just say so.
Public, they were there.
I think it's going to be a matter of public record in May.
So if you could, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, that's it for my report. Like I said, we do have a briefing coming up in a couple of weeks, and maybe I will learn some more. I do want to just lastly mention that all of the major union contracts, both TWU Local 100, the Long Island Railroad, and Metro North unions, will be renegotiated this year, and there will be no doubt attempts to do things about the overtime that you've been reading about making things a little more.
What does that guy do?
Good question.
So I think that's a question that, is the chief measurement officer?
Wait, who's that?
Chief
The
measurement.
guy who makes $337,000.
In overtime.
He does very well.
Right.
Brett.
$1,000
Brett.
I will say
What's
that
he
one
do?
of
He does very well.
the, one of the board
Pretty nice.
rider representatives who's not in this room did make an inquiry as to how that could happen
Yeah.
and what is being done to stop it.
And I've heard that it may not have even have been physically possible for this person to be in all the places they claimed they
Right.
were and still survive and not have any sleep and all those kinds of things. So that is definitely going to be investigated.
But
So,
isn't there a fail-safe that in the payroll system that questions that?
Apparently not.
Yes.
There should be though, and that's
The
certainly,
MTA controller and the state controller are the fail-safes,
Those are the
who are
fail-safes.
obviously asleep at the switch.
the pension system.
yeah, go ahead.
Do we in all business yet?
No,
No.
we're not in all business.
I'll wait.
So we were gonna,
Yeah, I think we were going to introduce our speaker and let him do his thing, and then we would move into the old and new business, if that's,
because we do wanna talk about the L-train and get your input onto our activities there. But first, Jeremy's here.
Jeremy
So-
is the Director of Enterprise Asset Management for New York City Transit's Division of Subway, Department of Subways. Jeremy's going to speak about how, when important pieces of the infrastructure such as rolling stock, signals, station, pieces of station, things need to be updated and how frequently and why. So let me get out of the way so you can see this. Following stuff out of the line of view.
You cast a large shadow.
I do.
Can you make some rabbit elephants while you're there?
Bradley, playing with lights again?
Turn off one light. Thank you.
What the hell is this, a peep show?
Sorry.
Are you done?
I come from Queens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bradley.
Chris, what are they?
Like it? Yeah.
I love it. The world always has chocolate chip cookies. No, I'm allergic to chocolate.
Oh, well, we'll note that for.
That's okay. It's been noted.
Oh, well, it's the first I've heard of it. So how about white chocolate?
White chocolate is okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
White chocolate is okay.
It's
not
really
chocolate.
Why is it?
White
that's
chocolate.
gotta be white.
It's schluck,
What's
It
up?
has more sugar in
What's
it.
up with
That's
what's
all.
up with
but it has no
Okay,
chocolate in
let
it.
us, let's get to the other kind of
That's just
cookies.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me today. I'm very excited to be here. My hope is to make this interactive, so please jump in and ask questions at any time. I'm not trying to do that by PowerPoint, so only have a few slides to talk to you, but what I really want to do is actually show you guys some things that we're doing in some ways that I think are really exciting. But one of the first things I want to do is sort of get your guys' opinions. Anybody ever heard of enterprise asset management? Anybody want to venture a guess of what they think it is?
I don't want
Oh, okay, you've heard of it. Okay, we got one who's heard of it. Anybody else?
Isn't it a federally mandated
Yes.
program that came through with the FAST Act?
Yes, if I
As
say
part
Map
of the
21,
performance
there's some
measure,
stuff that, if we want to get grant money and things, we have to have some sort of asset management program
Right.
that the FTA can come back to and look at things. There's certain ties there. Anybody else with anything? Yes, no? Okay.
It's a business?
But-
It's a
Yeah.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
It's elusive.
What do you mean by a gatekeeper?
You have to meet this to then get the grant money.
Yes, yeah, there's
So
certain
it's a
standards that we have to
gatekeeper.
meet. Yes, yeah, the laws are gatekeeper.
Right.
Yes, yes. Okay, good, well, I appreciate all that. Enterprise asset management can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. A lot of people think financial assets, that's not what I'm talking about. We're really talking about the physical stuff like Mr. Albert was talking, you know, the stations, the train cars, the tracks, the signals themselves. Those are all assets that we need to manage. Historically, we've looked at things more broadly. You know, we spend X amount in the division of track doing whatever, but when it comes time to make targeted investments, we all know, you know, money is tight. We want to get the best value for the investments we make. So getting down to the asset level to say, I'm spending 50,000 on this one, but I'm spending 500,000 on this one, let's replace that one, not the other one. I summarize it for a lot of people that my job is to help make sure that we get the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decisions in the field. So everything we're doing is how do we help our frontline workers be better informed about what's happened before, what's happening right now, and what they should plan on doing in the future. Like I said, just I'll give you a little overview of our program at a super high level, and then I want to actually demo a few things for you that hopefully you might find interesting. A couple things just to call those out. We've done some work around signal trouble calls. That's what we call it internally. You might know more sort of our emergency response when there's a signal problem that happens that stops train service. What do we record about that? What sort of information? And I'll give you a little bit of a taste of what we did before versus what we're doing now and why that's such a valuable thing for us. And we'll certainly tie back to some of the stats you were talking about earlier about how performance is increasing, because we think some of that is we're getting more targeted information. We're fixing the right things, not just anything. Mobile joint switch inspection, we historically have had this a legal size 4-part carbon copy form that every month on every mainline switch we go out and fill out 86 different measurements on it. That's all existed on paper. Now today we're doing that all on phones. So we have signal maintainers, track inspectors, supervisors out doing inspections on their phones. It's automatically calculating things for them that they don't have to remember now, and it all gets feed to a centralized system.
Is it a special program?
It is, yeah. The MTA, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but the MTA purchased EAM software in 2016, and we're 2 years, 3 years into the implementation, and so we're starting to see benefits coming back out of it. Defect management, what I call infrastructure, we have a division of infrastructure, but this is really the tunnel walls, the elevated steel structures. We keep track of the problems and the defects that we have there. How do we manage that? How do we manage that information? And we've done some visual stuff there. I was looking at your guys' website, and I saw one of your objectives is to really, how do we get more visualization into complex things? And so I'm going to show you how we visualize some things that we historically would look at tables and reams of paper. Now a picture's worth 1,000 words, as they say. And then staying with the visualization theme, I'll show you how we're doing some general order mapping. Does anybody know what a general order is?
Yes.
We hope.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, but it's like that. So historically, we've had this stuff all in tabular systems, and now we're getting capabilities to start to see things visually, and things jump out at you and help you plan better. And ultimately, then we'll open up to the floor, whatever questions you guys have. Everybody good so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to read all this to you. There's a lot of details on the slide, but I put this up there because we have 3 main objectives with what we're doing. We know we need to get better about planning. Folks might talk about our organization has been very reactive. So something breaks, we go fix it. But ultimately, we want to move to a better place towards we start finding out things before they break. If we're tracking measurements over time, we can see trends and things as they go and say, hey, this is about to break, let's go replace this so we don't impact service. Let's have a scheduled outage versus an unscheduled outage kind of thing. And that works on both the maintenance and on the capital planning side. So that's a big thing for us. How do we get more information so we can do better planning? Second one, if you've been out at any of our field locations, or you've been anywhere, we have paper forms everywhere. We're in some ways trying to move out of the last century into the new century. And so that comes with the things like I talked about. Let's get more things on mobile devices so that people aren't carrying around stacks of paper with them. They've got a mobile device that has some intelligence to it. They can fill out information right at the point where it happens, and then it all goes into a central system for better analysis and things like that.
And that goes right in line with your with the program to remove newsstands from platforms too.
Yes.
Paperless.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does the improved maintenance bullet point translate into speeding up the maintenance? And I'm specifically referring to the B train, which has been undergoing maintenance for several years now. I don't know what's taking so long.
Yeah, so I think what we hope to do is with better information, we do better planning where we don't go fix this one thing and then we leave and then we come back later 3 months and say, oh, well, there's another thing we need to fix there too. You're on the B train, you're like, why do they keep shutting it down? Why do they keep shutting it down? What I want to show you with some of our defects and the GO stuff is we're trying to move towards a place where here's everything that we should be fixing when we go in there. How do we take advantage of that outage and not just do one thing, but let's do the 5 things that are there so we can reduce the customer impact. Ultimately, that's what our goal is, right? How do we do better maintenance? How do we do better planning so that all of you who are riding have as limited downtime as possible?
I'm just gonna, I agree with you what you're saying, because one thing you did change and this should be added to the minutes as well. You do put it on the website that's telling you that you have work trains, like I'm gonna use the 4th Avenue corridor. You have work trains that are going through the express track or turning around at 36th Street. You will tell the D and the N, go local. You do communicate that a little better. And there are times that you are saying on the F line, you're decreasing service because you're getting ready for a fast track routine, which your signages are getting a little better, but the only thing we still need to work on is accessible reroutes for people.
Sure.
That's
It's a big
still,
challenge.
some parts are still not working very well. But when you guys turning off the beat early, at least it tells you when the last one's leaving at their station, and on the screen now, because I can vouch on it from 59th Street to DeKalb, it does say last B train.
It's helpful. Right?
It is helpful up to a point,
Yeah.
but maybe it'd be best if a little more increasement on the website, more information.
Got a question?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir.
Also, there were times when
Well,
you canceled journal orders in an untimely manner, which is inexcusable. There were times when you added them in an untimely manner, which is also inexcusable. There were times when you failed to remove the signs after they were scheduled to end, which is inexcusable. Okay, you need to stop doing those three things. That's very annoying. And also, if I'm riding a train and scheduled to run express here in Manhattan, it runs local, I certainly appreciate if the conductor could tell us why, what's happening. Because within the last 12 months, I rode an express train, I rode an express train 72nd and 42nd Street, I wanted to take the Columbus Circle. Then I see the next express train go down that same street on the express track, but there's nobody telling me anything. That's annoying.
I will freely admit we have many opportunities for improvement. I don't think anybody in Subway's leadership is shied away from saying we're doing a lot of things to try and fix those problems. They shouldn't happen. I agree.
I mean,
The more people
the last
communicate.
3 weekends, I've heard announcements that were saying, for instance, on the 8th Avenue line, due to electrical improvements, all C trains will be running express between 59th and Canal
Right.
Street. That I do hear.
Yeah, yeah, and I
So
think
that's the
if
work that
you-
you're talking about, it's not the geos for, I mean, you don't cancel and schedule the geos.
I mean, I don't personally
Yeah.
cancel or schedule any of that,
No, you don't,
but,
of course.
but yeah,
But I understand there's urgent,
yeah,
because you gotta get it fixed now,
yeah.
unless you want a derailment.
But if a GO is canceled, you gotta get the signs out of there too, 'cause
Correct. Yeah, for sure. Many moving parts that we
Well,
all.
also-
Yes, sir.
When you compare the J train, rather than truncating to Euclid Avenue and Credit Street, why not truncate at Broadway Junction, just where we have more transfer options? Because if you truncate at Euclid Avenue and Credit Street, you're basically putting us on Gilligan's Island. And that's not very swift.
I
Truncated to
understand.
Broadway Junction, not Euclid Avenue and Credit Street.
There are many opinions, right? There may be folks at other stops who may say, why are we going there? Why aren't we stopping here? So it's very difficult to please everyone, but your point's
But
well
I'm
taken.
saying, that's, J train wise, don't truncate it up Credit Street, you could Euclid Avenue, Credit Street, truncate it up Broadway Junction, this way we have more rider options, because at Euclid Avenue, Credit Street, you only have one train, that's the B13 bus. That's gonna take you everywhere.
I'll do my best to pass that along. to my
Yes,
colleagues.
I'm sure that there's gonna be less J train work now because of the L train, so.
oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, and that's why it's been so much, is to try and get prepared prior to the election.
Yeah.
So why don't we,
When,
sorry,
when you talk about paperless reporting, that's internally.
Yes.
I would suggest that there has to be more paper reporting, or at least signage, whenever you do everything that you've talked about, canceling GOs, putting in GOs, to communicate with the riding public, that they know what's going on. Because the other day, I came to the number 6, which I use, at 77th Street, Lexington Avenue. There was a yellow, you couldn't get in, you couldn't go
there's tape,
downtown.
yep, yep.
I know now it's because of that soda bottle that was on the tracks and that everybody broadcast. But at the same time that they put the yellow band across, there should have been some kind of an announcement also why you couldn't go down and take
Yep.
the subway. I mean, that's an emergency, when you were talking about emergency situations also. So I would suggest that it's great to be paperless, but there are times.
And all I'm
Especially
talking
in
about
terms
is
of
internal
communication.
stuff.
That's internal.
No,
Yes.
I
Yep.
know, but if you will pass this on, because you
Sure.
talk about paperless, and I mean, it's been spoken about by people who need to communicate also.
Right.
So I'm just
Yep.
adding to you to pass it on also.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
About that.
It's all good. So you led right into my next point is we have all these forms, we want to get towards more mobile communication because information internally moves a lot faster electronically than it does when we have paper, because we have certain inspections, somebody goes up and does the inspection, the paper gets handed off to a mail person who takes it to a central place, a clerical person puts it into a system, and it's a 4-day process that if it was all on a mobile device, happens within minutes, right? So that's what we're really trying to get to, is we talk about these global things, the MTA restructuring, but you hear people say digital transformation, that's the heart of it, is how do we get electronic information as opposed to paper information so that things can move faster. I'm not talking about public communication, but totally understand. And then the last thing, I wouldn't say necessarily publicize this, but we have many different systems internally that house this key information. So we're really trying to move towards a single platform, the overall EAM system for internal use, so that I don't have a track system, I don't have a signal system, I don't have an infrastructure system, I have a subway system that if I want to know what are the problems that happen in this area, I don't have to search 8 different things to figure it out. I can go one place to get that cohesive picture. Yes. Some background things, again, won't read these word for word, but we've really worked hard to what I think assemble a world-class team. We have some experts coming from the outside that we've brought in. We've actually taken some general superintendents, for those of you who may not be familiar with that title, but a general superintendent track is generally someone who gets that position after a minimum of 20 to 25 years of frontline operation. And we have, right now, I believe we have 9 different general superintendents covering different divisions of subways dedicated to this team, because if we're going to do improvements that help our frontline people, we need them as part of the process. This isn't one of those programs where we bring a bunch of consultants in, they develop this perfect solution, they hand it over, and we say this doesn't fit us. This is, we've got experts working side by side with our internal people to really make this. So I believe we have a great team. Where we've been so far, as we said earlier, the MTA purchased this EAM software called Infor EAM in April of 2016. So far in subways, we have over 2,500 users, primarily in those divisions that I laid out there: tracks, signals, infrastructure, stations, elevators, and escalators. Long term, and when I say long term, I mean 3 to 5 years from now, we believe we're gonna have over 10,000 direct users, because as we get people out of all those disparate systems and into one, everybody's putting their work in the same place. So this is no small effort. Getting 10,000 people to use the same system doesn't happen overnight. Relating to that, we talked about visualization. GIS stands for Geographic Information System. That's how we visualize things. So we want to tie that in. If we have our work, our defects, tie that in so that we can see them, and I'll show you some of that. A key point in making this all work is our relationship with the unions and the union leadership and things. Over the last few years, we've really worked hard to be on the same page with them, and by and large, their people are on the same page. Somebody gets hired today, 20 years old, comes off the street, and they're wanting to know, why can't I do all this stuff on my phone? I can do everything else in my life on my phone. Why do I have to do 5-part carbon copy forms to do my work today? We have a little joke that there's probably some mom and pop shop in New Jersey that we're keeping in business because of all the carbon copy forms that we do, because nobody else in the world has this many.
Not MC,
What?
not carbonless ones, real
We have carbon paper forms, so one
we
of the.
didn't even get someone to make that.
That's my point.
Some old guy in New Jersey just.
Yeah, there's some family business in Jersey that we've kept in business because we do these 10,000 at a pop, and it's amazing, right?
I didn't even know they made carbon paper anymore.
Who knew? There are people on my team when we say carbon paper, they look at you like you have 3 heads.
Right.
Like, what is that? So we're trying to get away from that very much.
Although it does work better than carbonless paper.
True. It doesn't really transfer well without the carbon.
Right.
Very good. Very good. Yes.
Scanning also works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the key point with the unions is we've actually created videos where our subways leadership as well as union leadership have spoke together on things. As you mentioned earlier, the leadership doesn't always on the same page, but by and large, this is a place where everybody is aligned, that this is the future, this is where we need to go. And so that's really helpful as we deploy out and we do hands-on training with, hourly employees, that if they see, look, my boss and my other boss both agree on this, then I know we're good.
And is this happening, are you working with Long Island Railroad Metro North as well?
Yeah, that's a key point. Thanks for bringing that up. So the Enterprise Asset Management Initiative is really an MTA-wide thing that's happening. I'm only talking about subways, but I have counterparts in all of the other agencies that are doing similar things. So Long Island Railroad, Metro North, Bridges and Tunnels, MTA, New York City Transit Bus, we all meet. We have roughly monthly meetings where we come together, share lessons learned. There's also an MTA sort of headquarters group sort of laying some high-level strategic directions we're all following. So there's definitely some cross-agency collaboration and things going on. I had some folks from Metro North in my office just yesterday. They were looking at some of the stuff we've done in Signals, and they said, that's pretty similar to what we're doing. Let's beg, borrow, and steal as much of that as we can and not reinvent the wheel. And we think that's a good thing. Certainly as we talk about this MTA restructuring, I think we're kind of at the forefront of some of that already unintentionally, that we are bringing things together so that we're not duplicating efforts where possible.
We should do this presentation at the committee meeting.
Perhaps. The next bullet, one of the things that I feel most passionate about, we care very much about our employees. We've created a dedicated EAM support desk in my organization that is made up of Subways employees helping Subways employees. We have the standard IT help desk, that works Monday through Friday, takes calls around the clock, but this is a group that is engaged. They understand what we're doing. They know the system inside and out. So when I have a track inspector at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning who's having an issue, can't find his work order, can't create a defect, there's somebody he can call at any time of the day to get a response. And so that's a big thing for our culture. Andy always talks about the Pass Forward plan. It's not just about buying new things, but it's how do we change our culture? How do we transform what we do? And we think this is one example where we're really trying to change and say, you're not out there on an island. You're not out there all on your own. There are people who are going to help you because we know your job is important. So that's a big thing. And the last thing is, again, folks will think of EAM as being throwing technology out there, but what we've long said is it doesn't do me any good to bring these new solutions to people if the office they're in doesn't have internet connectivity, it doesn't have good lighting, if it has a power strip connected to a power strip connected to a power strip connected to a power strip, because there's only one outlet in the room and it's all the way on the other side of the room from where my desk is. And so we've got a combined effort with our IT partners and folks to raise the level of our employee facilities while we're doing this. And that's something that pays huge dividends because at times folks feel like all we're doing is asking more of them. This is an opportunity where we're giving them something that they didn't even ask for. So huge part of the culture change again. So again, not going to read all these to you, but we have many accomplishments, and some of the key ones I'll point out that I'm actually going to demo to you are the second, third, fourth bullets. But we've done some stuff around defect management in the infrastructure on both the subways and the elevated iron structures that I'm going to show you. We've trained hundreds of people in track and signals to do this mobile joint switch inspection. We've deployed iPhones to them. In signals, our emergency response, what we call trouble call management, over 220 people that were trained just to support that. And one of the challenges we have that people from the outside might think, well, why does that take so long? Well, it takes a long time to train 435 people because we've got to, get them out of their day job. We got to schedule it. We got to get them in classrooms. We got to figure out who's covering their shifts so that they can go do that because the railroad doesn't stop just because we're training people. So there's logistical challenges to make this all happen. So there's a lot of work. One of the things we started in 2018 that we've now finished this year was rolling out our stations management aspect of it. They had a legacy system that had some capabilities. We've now got them in the EAM system that has much more reporting and analytical capabilities. At the end of the year, we were halfway through that. By March of this year, we had all of the stations converted. So all 473 stations, all of their inspections and their corrective work is now managed here. And it's a very valuable thing. Yeah.
Well, in line with that, have the station managers, we had a presentation here last year about the new station manager
the
program,
GSMs
as
and-
opposed to the old station manager.
Yes, sir.
Are they tied into all this?
100%. We can do without it. They get all of their information reporting out of the system now.
Not 90,
Excuse-
they want 90%.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's it, answer my question.
Okay. Very frustrating. No one seems to know anything other that's on the website about elevators. It's, I call the information. And no one answers on the subway car. I mean, on the subway elevator door.
Yeah.
You go to a Blue Point, and they say to you, and I go, don't look at the webpage. It's not there.
Right, it's not
Try
accurate, yeah.
using the intercom, Edith.
Excuse me?
Try using.
I use the intercom. No one answers the fucking intercom, man.
Right.
Get over it. You don't think I know to use an intercom?
No.
Alright,
Okay, but they don't answer it. They're nasty as hell. They don't know anything.
Yep.
And
You're talking about status of elevators, right?
Yep.
you're standing
Whether
in
the
front of
answer
an
is-
elevator.
Yep.
It's, the light is lit, which is usually a good sign. Unless the light is
It's a
out
start.
permanently. The elevator is not coming. You're standing there for 15 minutes.
Right.
You then, I'm checking my phone.
Yep.
It's not listed. I then keep trying the intercom. Now, at Bowling Green, there's an intercom against the fence. That didn't answer either. I talked someone into letting me back inside because there's no gate,
Right.
auto gate
Yes.
past there. So I go to the help point. And the help point says to me, well, I said, all I want to do is get back to Fulton. And I'll wheel from there. They go, I don't know, all I can do is offer you to get carried out. I'm not looking to be carried out.
Totally understand.
I ended up going to Atlantic and coming back. But that level of information,
Yes.
I thought
It's
we
like
had
calling
real-time
311.
information when an elevator goes out of service.
So,
it's supposed to tell itself automatically.
Yeah,
yep,
and send a message.
yeah, so these challenges you're
It's
describing are some of the
not
things.
working anymore.
Yes.
It
So-
seemed to work better about a year ago. At this point, there seems to be a serious, Problem.
Did this happen within the last week?
exactly, a week ago today.
You mean the Bowling Green
And-
station was out? You're
At
talking
which
The
about?
station?
Bowling Green-
Yeah,
Bowling Green,
yeah.
Uptown side,
no, street,
street, okay,
Well, it is.
street elevator.
okay.
Yeah, I know what she's talking.
Mhm.
I had that issue because last week I was with someone. I'm not gonna say names because I didn't ask permission. The elevator, I did go to the ticket booth and I did put it in, and they did put a yellow tape because it seems the elevator was a blackout.
Yeah.
Which that's the term I call it sometimes because it doesn't go on the list until maybe 25 minutes to an hour, which I'm being nice. But there has been a lot of elevators that are out or just frozen or stalled that is open, not going anywhere, and the power's out.
so if those are all captured, I mean, if Edith reports it or Chris reports it,
Yeah.
I'm hoping it goes into a system and
It
it
does, yes.
automatically
I did.
updates. But it sounds as though,
Part of your challenge was people don't have the information to know what's accurate. You want to ask them what's going on, and they can't give
Right,
you a
I'm
response.
saying